As part of the coalition deal between National and ACT, a bill will be introduced by the new government to define the principles of the treaty. And this Waitangi Day, we wanted to consider some of the issues which are central to that debate. Of course, the actual text of the treaty is in two forms, an English language version and a Maori language version. Understandings of those versions, what was agreed and what honouring the treaty actually means in practice, is all subject for debate.
Okay, Jack refers to an English language version and a Maori language version, and of course he's absolutely right. To understand what he's talking about, we need to know some history. If we don't understand our history, we'll never know what the activists are up to, so here we go. Hobson arrived in New Zealand on Wednesday, the 29th of January. The treaty was signed on the 6th of February, so between those two dates, 29th of January and 6th of February, is 9 days. Between the 29th of January and the 6th of February, a team of people in those 9 days worked on drafting the treaty. At 4 p.m. on the 4th of February, 1840, the final draft of the treaty was given to missionary Henry Williams and his son Edward to translate into Maori. The translation was completed that night, the 4th of February 1840. Now what you need to know is that Henry Williams had been in New Zealand since 1823 working as a missionary. Henry and his son were first-class linguists and translators. In fact, Henry produced a dictionary of Maori words of which I have a copy today. Historian Bruce Moon describes Williams as, quote, highly experienced and competent. Williams' biographer Hugh Carleton had said that Edward, that's the son, was a scholar in the Maori language without peer. Carleton actually used the Latin tag Whakila Princeps, which means easily first or acknowledged leader. So, on the night of the 5th, Hobson asked another missionary, Reverend Taylor, to transfer the treaty in Maori from paper onto dogskin, which he did. Dogskin was much more durable than paper. So now we have, on the night of the 5th, we have the Treaty of Waitangi on dogskin, ready for signing. Henry Williams and his son went with the Maori chiefs up into Titi Marae that night. That's the night of the 5th. That's the day before the treaty was signed. They spent all night with the chiefs in that marae. Henry Williams reported to Bishop Selwyn. There's Henry Williams on the right there. That's his picture of him. He's the guy who translated the treaty from English into Maori on the night of the 4th of February 1840. Well, Henry Williams reported to Bishop Selwyn, who was another missionary, the instruction of Captain Hobson was not to allow anyone to sign the treaty till he fully understood it, to which instruction I did most strictly attend. That the natives to whom I explained the treaty understood the nature of the same, there can be no doubt, and there's the reference. Now, that puts to bed the narrative of the Maori activists that the chiefs didn't know what they were doing. Well, they did, and we have no reason to doubt what Henry Williams is saying. He was a missionary. He was a head of the CMS, the Church Missionary Society mission. He was a guy of integrity, and he spent the whole night with those chiefs in Titi Marae that evening to make sure they understood the treaty. In actual fact, Hobson had thought that they were going to take a week to sign because he wanted to give them that time, but they didn't. They only wanted one night and they were ready to sign. So there you go. 52 chiefs signed this treaty the next day, the 6th of February at Waitangi. Hobson recorded the following in his notes. The treaty, which forms the basis of my proceedings, was signed at Waitangi on the 6th of February 1840 by 52 chiefs, 26 of whom were of the Confederation. He's talking about the Hei Whakaputanga, the 1835 Declaration of Independence. So 26 of the 52 were at the Treaty of Waitangi and signed it on the 6th of February, and formed a majority of those who signed the Declaration of Independence 1835. So most of the chiefs who signed the Declaration of Independence 1835 also signed the Treaty of Waitangi. And the Treaty of Waitangi cancels out the Declaration of Independence, by the way, you need to know that. This instrument I consider to be de facto, and that de facto means in reality, or in fact, the treaty. And all the signatures that are subsequently obtained are merely testimonials of adherence to the terms of the original document, and there's the reference. Pretty clear, isn't it? So 52 chiefs signed, half of the chiefs who signed the Declaration of Independence 1835 signed, and by the way, they got the rest of the signatures of the chiefs who'd signed that declaration, so that was superseded or cancelled out by the Treaty of Waitangi, and there you have it. Pretty clear, isn't it? 52 chiefs. The other thing that's worth noting here is that of all the copies of the treaty that were floating around the country, they might have had small differences between them, and that's what Hobson's referring to. Hobson said this: if you signed a treaty document, no matter which one, no matter if there were differences between them in their wording, you were signing your adherence to the terms of the original February 6th Waitangi document. Well, that's pretty clear, isn't it? So if there was minor differences between the treaties and any other treaties floating around, they were all really signing adherence to that treaty that was signed at Waitangi on the 6th of February. That's so clear. The next important date is the 17th of February 1840. That's pretty much 11 days after the treaty was signed. Well, what happened then? Hobson asked printer Colenso to print 200 copies of the treaty in Maori. Why? These copies were to be distributed to Maori chiefs prior to them officially signing. They wanted them to know what they were doing. In total, 7 dogskin copies were made. Well, what happened? Well, delegations of the British were sent off around the country, mostly on ships, with one of these copies to gather the signatures of the chiefs. They also took Colenso's 200 copies on paper with them. Here is a map of all the locations where the treaty was signed, and you can see that most of them are all coastal, so the ships had to sail around New Zealand, stop at these ports, go and get the chiefs, and that's where the signing happened. Now, these signing ceremonies, these 50 signing locations and ceremonies, happened between February and September 1840. So the treaty was not just signed at Waitangi, it was signed all over the country in between those 2 months, February and September. In total, over 500 signatures were gathered, and that is the story of the 2 versions of the treaty that Jack Tame is talking about, a Maori language version and a version in English. Now this is where it gets really, really interesting. You know what actually happened to that final English draft and what it ended up being swapped out for is a story of fraud, corruption and skullduggery. So I will explain what happened in the next video. I'll see you then. Please share this video with everyone everywhere. The mainstream media should be reporting on the issues I am raising in these videos, but they're not. Why aren't they? Well, they're corrupt. Why are they corrupt? They are collaborating with Maori activists, there's no doubt about that. In the final analysis, the people of New Zealand, that's us, have ultimate power, not the politicians. Did you know that? The people can kick out the people in power and they can put them into power. How are we going to do that? Well, awareness is the key to change. If enough people in New Zealand become aware of the issues I am raising, we can save this beautiful country. So share these videos everywhere so that come the next election, we can vote the right people in and kick out the people who are destroying New Zealand.